Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Gilliland, and no, I don't normally dress in 19th century attire for kicks, unless it's a Kickstarter project. And we're here today to talk about the Boston Metaphysical Society, which was nominated for a 2014 Geekie Award, and my friend Madeleine Holy-Rosing, who's here to talk about her comic, her Kickstarter project, and it's absolutely a lot of fun. So how you doing today?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me, Josh. I really appreciate the time.
Not a problem. You got a great book. I love where it's going. I'm a lawyer and I read it for legal issues, but it's
I know you do.
love what you're doing. So tell everyone where we are with issues 3 and 4 that have come out and your Kickstarter project.
Well, to start off, in case someone hasn't heard of the comic before, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective and his spirit photographer partner who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. Think steampunk X-Files. It's a 6-issue miniseries. We have chapters 1 through 4 out. We are currently running a Kickstarter to produce and print chapter 5. We're about 44% there with 15 days left. So obviously we could really use people's help. It's one of those things where it's definitely not hopeless. We do have a shot of making that goal, but it will require help and a lot of work on my part.
And we are here to help. And that's not like a quote like the federal government. We actually want to help. So it's a great book. I like where things are going. And I like your spin on Tesla.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do get other people who disagree with my spin on Tesla, but it is fiction. It's a fiction book. But what I do try to do is stay thematically true to the relationships that he had. For those of your viewers who don't know, Bell, Edison, Tesla, and Houdini are all part of the storyline. All of them knew each other except for probably Houdini. They probably didn't know him at the time. But Bell, Edison, and Tesla, they all had interactions. They did business with each other. They all had a contentious relationship. So I spun that into my alternate history universe of Boston Metaphysical, and also added another real-life character by the name of Granville Woods, who you and I, we've talked about him before on an earlier podcast, and integrated them with the two of our leads, Samuel Hunter and Caitlin O'Sullivan, who are fictional characters. Samuel is from a more middle-class background, former Pinkerton detective, now has his own essentially paranormal detective agency, and Caitlin is from the south side of Boston, the wrong side of the tracks, Irish, and everyone looks down on them. So the story touches a lot on classism, racism, and sexism, along with telling a fun supernatural story based in this alternate universe of 1880s Boston.
Which is cool. And the idea that not all spirits are bad, you play with that in one of the
Yes.
issues. And that was cute. I really liked how you did that as a conflict resolution. And then you have, I won't give it away, but Tesla looking like he's committed a few crimes in his quest to fight the evil spirit. That's like, whoa, that would not be okay. That there's the necessity defense does not work in that situation with what he did.
Well, thematically, the story is about the lead character of Samuel Hunter, who is obsessed with finding this entity that murdered his wife. It's a supernatural entity. And whether or not he will cross that moral line, how far will he go to achieve his ends? So it focuses on his obsession and how far he will go. And will his team be able to pull him back in time. And that's what we discover in, obviously, issues 5 and 6, where everything comes to a head of whether or not where the shifter actually came from, and what happens to our team. I don't want to give away too much.
Nor should you. I don't like spoilers. I want to be surprised when I read it. So I do, again, since I want people to read the book, without going into any detail, the police interrogation scene that took place made me start thinking of con law and criminal procedure, because a lot of those rules hadn't been established until like the 1930s, and
Yes.
then to the 1960s as well. Which says, that was fun to read. It's like, that's interesting with what they did. So I like the way that you work in those issues. So keep up that good work. But where could people find your Kickstarter project and the video and learn more about what you're trying to do?
They can go to Kickstarter.com and search for under comics or Boston Metaphysical. I think we're actually still on the first page of the popular section. If you look under most popular comics, I believe we're still on the first page. You can also link through our website at www.bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com. We do have a YouTube channel. I'm actually been having trouble with the vanity URL, so it doesn't say Boston Metaphysical yet, but I'm sure if you Google YouTube Boston Metaphysical, it's going to pop right up. Fantastic. So you'll see the Kickstarter video.
Very cool. Now, if people wanted to order issues 1 through 4, how could they do that?
Through the website, the comic website at bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com. You just click on the header where it says buy comics, and you'll also see that there's a page for the novellas because, well, as you know, but your viewers probably don't, I've also written a series of short stories and novellas that are prequels to the comics, so there's no spoilers. It's transmedia. Welcome to the new world. I have fans who've started on the prose side and moved to the comic and gone from the comic to the prose, and they've really enjoyed that because it enriches the world. You can dig much deeper on the prose side than you can with the comics. I mean, you are limited with the comics and how much exposition and world building you can do. So,
yeah, because there's only so much time that you have in the comic, but
it's a standard 22-page comic for each chapter, so that's got to get a lot in there.
I believe the term is John Bar point, but what were the John Bar points of like the historical turns? Are those in the prequels? Like my friend's book 1901, with focusing on Vice President Roosevelt. The John Bar point is Lincoln gets his first choice for vice president, who is Benjamin Butler, and he doesn't die in the assassination attempt. Mary Todd does. And so, but he ends up crippled. And so like that changes U.S. history entirely. What's your John Bar point? Or have you?
I have not gotten there yet in the novellas because I've been dealing with the nature of novellas and short stories is you need to either, like short stories, focus on one character or two at the most, or else it becomes unwieldy. Novellas, you can expand a bit, but you do have to, I want the stories to be self-contained. My husband has been bugging me about starting to write the novels. And of course, that will be addressed in the novels. I've had people, fans actually bug me about when am I going to do the RPG. I've run out of time.
What, there's a day job attached to this? Yeah, it's...
I do work part-time, you know that. Along with, oh, by the way, I have to go buy food and occasionally vacuum the house, and dinners are like, oh, what do you want, honey? We're going to go defrost it.
Yeah, I know that all too well. I look forward to seeing, because of your knowledge of history, I look forward to seeing how you spin the changes, because that will be, it's fun to see that, especially in the 19th century, where, like if John Quincy Adams had been successful and reelected, like how that could have
Well,
changed.
I can tell you one thing. The Civil War is not so much between northern and southern governments, but between northern and southern family-owned corporations.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because in the world I've created, and you'll read more of this in the novellas, particularly the last one, The Demons of Liberty Row, where and also Steampunk Rat, because novellas, well, obviously they're longer, so you can get more into it. You focus on the families. They're family-owned corporations, and they own all of the major. We're talking, the steel family, the farming family, all the different industries, and the northern families decided that slavery was not cost effective. There was no profit in it, and that was the break,
Okay.
because Southern companies would not. It wasn't through some moral high ground. It was just inefficient. And
What's
so if you read in Demons of Liberty Row is the Negro section of Boston, where Granville Woods lives. And so you get an insight into the African American viewpoint of post-Civil War, knowing that, well, if the northern houses, the great houses, what I call the great houses or the corporations, decide that, well, slavery is suddenly cost effective, they're screwed. So
wow,
you see some of their preparation within their own community to protect themselves.
interesting. I look forward to checking that out. Being the history geek, I look forward to checking that out.
Yeah, so obviously I've reinvented history here, but it's, as you can tell, it's a reflection of our own times.
Uh-huh.
It's a mirror of what we're looking at now between race relations and the middle class fighting for their life. Where it used to be being middle class, if you were at the poverty line, was once attainable to achieve that goal. I'm not sure it is anymore,
It's scary.
unless you were already born into it.
It's truly scary right now. That's fascinating.
Because obviously you and I are in a privileged class. We're both white. I mean, you're actually in a higher privileged class than I am because you're male. I know you don't. My husband doesn't like to hear that either. He goes, "But I love you," and everything. But through our society, it's simply true. And I know I am privileged because I have an education. I came from a middle class family that came from lower income, but was able to economically move up. And same thing with David's family. I mean, they came from they were poor. I mean, all of our families were poor. 50 to 100 years ago, all of our families were poor, and they were able to move up through education. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure that's really hard to do now. So obviously that's mirrored in the stories, and along with what I hope are good characters that you care about and are willing to take on a journey with.
Yeah, and it is reflective of the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
So that is interesting, because we had for many years after 9/11, all the movies and books had the post 9/11 feel to them.
Yes.
And with basically institutionalized suffering because of the economy that people are having, seeing that change in pop culture, and you're bringing it out, I think, fairly well. So that is fascinating. That is fascinating. I I like your work a lot, and I encourage
Thank you.
others to check. Well, it's creative and it's fun, and
And we have T-shirts now.
yeah, it's I wore my button to the Geekie Awards. It's just it's good stuff, and uh, the little watches. I mean, it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
So uh, now, uh, before we close, uh, what are any conventions coming up throughout the fall that people could see you at if they want to meet you in person?
Yes. I will be in Rose City, Portland, towards the end of September. I think that's September. Looking at my calendar, the 20th and the 21st, and then I'll be at Long Beach the weekend after that, and then I will be at Ape in San Francisco the first weekend of October, and then 2 weeks after that, I will be at the San Diego Comic Fest, of which you will be there too, I believe.
This will be the first time I get to speak at a comic convention, and I am so stoked. We'll talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and legal issues there, and Star Wars and legal lessons from Star Wars. So I'm giddy to be doing this.
Well, you're on a panel. I'm on the steampunk track with my friend Elizabeth Wittasson, and my husband David is on the JPL NASA track. So if people come, they can go ask him all geeky space questions, and he will be happy to answer them because he knows all the answers. He is a real rocket scientist, so yes, he knows those answers.
I look forward to talking to him because I am a total space geek. With my dad was in charge of installing the tiles on Columbia.
Oh wow, okay.
So my earliest memory is the rollout of the Space Shuttle Columbia, and I was able to take my dad back to the final Space Shuttle launch. So we were able to bookend the shuttle program together.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally look forward to talking to your husband about his work and space exploration. And I did put in a request. I don't know if we can work out, but that we don't conflict time wise during the show. So
Yeah, I will be there all weekend, but I think he's just going to be there on Saturday.
uh-huh.
So we don't have to board the dogs. That's really how it is. So he can get home, drive home, get him the dogs fed. So yeah, I know he's speaking on Saturday. I have no idea when I'm speaking. I'm on a panel at Long Beach as well with Fanboy Comics.
Okay. Oh,
on,
cool.
on independent creators, and they haven't told me when that's scheduled yet. So yeah, I'm on more and more panels, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I enjoy meeting other panelists and also talking to the people who attend. Get lots of good and different ideas going around.
I really enjoy the conventions because it's an injection of creativity. Because being an attorney, the conferences that we go to are can be dull. Part of it's the nature of the profession, but there are a lot of lawyers who are geeks and who, you put in the effort to make it entertaining, lawyers will show up and appreciate it. So I enjoy going to these events
Mm-hmm.
for a dose of creativity, to hang out with people. It's like, wow, you make stuff. And, you sat down, you wrote a little book, you wrote a comic, it's like, I haven't done that. And it's neat to see that and experience that and then take it back to my profession, or the other half of my profession,
Uh-huh.
and see what we can do to liven up our half so people understand the law more and understand the issues. So, but for those in Oregon, Long Beach, and San Diego, so there are 3 opportunities to see you in the next.
San Francisco.
Oh, in San Francisco, yeah,
Yeah.
all over California. So
Yes.
excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Well, thank you.
wish you success with the Kickstarter, and I encourage everyone to check it out. And until then, stay geeky, America.